The Individual Deprivation Measure, or IDM, is a new gender-sensitive, multi-dimensional measure of poverty. Current measures primarily focus on households, but they don't shed enough light on the varying circumstances of individuals within those households. They assume everyone is in the same situation, when in reality, asset ownership, access to resources, physical and social needs and priorities differ for each individual. The IDM, however, is revolutionizing poverty measurement by making it possible to see who is poor, in what ways, and to what extent. Current poverty measures focus mainly on money, as well as other limited aspects like health and education. Whilst important, it is limiting, given people experiencing poverty say there are many dimensions of life keeping them poor. The IDM measures 15 dimensions of poverty. Some of these dimensions are especially important for revealing gender disparity, like voice in the community, time use, family planning, and personal relationships. It's a gender-sensitive measure. The IDM dimensions are those identified by individuals as being particularly important to them. It enables us to analyze poverty by sex, revealing differences between men and women in those dimensions. The IDM is intersectional. Currently, we can't tell how age, gender, disability, and ethnicity affect the poverty of an individual. But by assessing individuals rather than households, we can see how these differences, along with geography, might intersect to produce or deepen deprivation. For example, an older woman with a disability in a rural area will experience poverty differently compared to a younger woman with a disability in an urban area. Some forms of poverty are deeper than others. That's why the IDM is scalar. It moves beyond the limitations of poor versus not poor. It provides insight into the intensity of an individual's poverty and their vulnerability to extreme deprivation. The IDM is the first poverty measure grounded in the lived experience of women and men. It measures poverty through surveys that ask questions, using well-validated indicators. IDM participants receive a score on each of the 15 dimensions, which reflects their level of deprivation for each of the dimensions. These scores can be added up to give a score out of 100, which determines their individual level of deprivation. The IDM can help governments and organizations target poverty more effectively. It can help them evaluate the success or failure of policy and programming. And it can reveal what aspects of poverty are changing over time, by how much, and for whom. The need for high-quality, timely, reliable, and relevant data has gained prominence since the adoption of the 2030 Agenda, the Global Goals for Sustainable Development. The IDM collects data, which is needed for tracking progress of the global goals. By offering data disaggregation, the IDM is a relevant and complementary tool to the global goals to support better targeting of policies and programming. By 2020, the IDM will be ready for global use, and as a measure that encompasses more about the individual, it will be a tool for tracking how development is changing the lives of the world's most deprived.